Mike Walker, it is nice to talk to you again.
In person.
In person.
Been so long,
Yeah.
2 years since we've talked in person.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and you were the first guest I aired on
this
my
year.
channel.
That's right.
Yes.
It's fun to be here actually in person. It's fun to see you, both as a family member and as, to do this project with you.
Yeah. Well, it's just nice to see you again.
Yeah,
Mike.
it is.
To remind everyone, Mike is the Dean of Students at the College of Eastern Idaho.
That's correct.
I got it right. I always
You do.
mess it
Yeah,
up.
you got it good. That's good.
Yeah. Is that how you got COVID?
So I think it is. I think so. I was pretty careful. I've been masked. I've recovered fully of COVID, just for viewers' sake. That's why we're less than 6 feet apart and unmasked right now. I've recovered more than 2 weeks ago from COVID, so it's fine. There's no way I can get or give COVID, and we're family, so I don't feel like I should. I feel okay wearing a mask or not wearing a mask here.
Yeah.
And also, like I said, I can't get or give it. But
Best time to come home and see your parents.
Yeah, and I haven't seen my parents in a long time, and it couldn't be a better time because I can't get them sick, and they can't get me sick. Although they wouldn't, they've been really, really careful. I'm really proud of them.
They haven't done any errands or anything.
My mom almost never gets out of the car, even when she goes places. She tries to only do contactless stuff. I had to do a banking thing that she helped me with, and the bank attendant came to the car. But yeah, I think I probably did get COVID on campus, and so that's unfortunate. Our campus has been extremely careful. Our leadership has been really responsible, and our staff members and faculty members have been really responsible. But this disease spreads quickly. People haven't taken it so seriously, and I really think they should, because it was a very uncomfortable experience for me. It was about 7 days of really bad symptoms, and then a couple lingering days of additional symptoms that were fine. But I was sick, very sick, for about 7 days. Now, I never had to go to the hospital or anything like that. I'm 40. I'm not, super old, but and I'm not immunocompromised. I'm pretty healthy. I try to take care of myself. So, but it was at first I thought, this is about the second worst sickness I've ever had in my life, because when I was in grad school at BYU in history, I got a rotavirus, and
right.
It was bad. It was really bad. But I recovered very quickly from that. So while when I had that, the pain was probably a little bit worse, the recovery for coronavirus was worse for me. I'm still tired all the time from it. Like, I'm totally recovered, weeks recovered, no symptoms. But I slept like 12 hours last night. I never sleep that long, and it kind of is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's probably where that happened. Our college has been really careful about contact tracing, so I'm pretty sure I got it on campus from someone who was asymptomatic. But there's no way to know for sure.
Yeah.
I could have gotten it at the grocery store that week as well. So there were two possible scenarios. But I was masked at the grocery store. I was masked at work too.
I really think most of the time we're going to get it from someone we spent some length of time with.
Yeah.
Just to get it in the grocery store.
It seems odd.
It does. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I don't generally feel concerned about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Are you at all concerned about getting the long COVID?
Yeah, so I'm more concerned about what the plan is with COVID for all of society. Like, we're still open at my college. We do physical distancing. We have a lot of classes that are online, like everybody else, but we're still open for some face-to-face classes. And it does worry me a little bit. Just because the numbers have skyrocketed, it's the worst it's ever been right now. out in Eastern Idaho, and I don't know, I can't speak to Seattle whether or not things are going down here or not because I haven't looked at the data recently. But I'm very encouraged by the fact that so many people are getting vaccinations, especially healthcare workers are starting to get their vaccinations now. I'm definitely going to get vaccinated as soon as I'm eligible because I lived through it. I mean, I didn't want it before, but I lived through it. I really don't want it again because from the recovery standpoint, and even the disease itself was, for me, painful. And I think it differs for some people with blood type, because I have had plenty of friends who've had it and it was no big deal. But you don't know how it's going to affect you. I'm several weeks out with symptoms, away from symptoms, and I'm exhausted. I mean, I can go running now, but it wears me out. I haven't lifted weights one time since then because I just don't have the energy.
You can't do it yet. So you could really say that you're not fully recovered from this disease.
You could say that because I'm still so tired. Yeah, but I'll tell you, I had low grade and I had a high fever even when I was sick for a little while. So I do think I've been pretty fair at assessing this. Like, it's not the end of the world, right? But it's not something to just, ignore or whatever. People are dying of it, so we do need to be careful. And I'm also mindful, I have several people that I know online that are very concerned about, the economy and what we're going to do, what are we going to come back to. I've known several business owners who've lost their business locally here in Seattle, Tacoma, and especially in Idaho and Utah. And I understand, empathize. I mean, I'm on the board, executive board for our local Chamber of Commerce. I've talked to a lot of them, and they're very concerned about, their businesses and the direction that we're going. And so it's important for people to be able to get back to work and for us to be creative in how we do that. But also, it's a delicate balance. I'm glad that I'm not a government official in charge of
It would
policy.
be really tough. Imagine if you were Boris Johnson right now.
Oh no!
Yeah. Oh, those shoes are flying.
Yeah, I mean that's and so I empathize. I empathize with any leader on what's the right decision because.
I think at the end of the day, we don't want chaos.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I've had to make advisory decisions in my role at the college, about what to do with my team and how to keep them safe, as well as with the students and relaying the messages that our collegiate leadership team has made, and I have an influence on those, obviously. And that alone has been hard. There have been times when I've been sitting with my supervisor, the vice president, and we just go back and forth and say, what's the right solution here? What's the right decision? And ultimately, you try to be informed, data looking backward and innovation looking forward, and try to make the best choice. And our leadership, I think, has done a really good job given the circumstances. Mm-hmm. We've given lots of options to students. Like, students can choose, if they want to be completely online, they can do that. If they want to be face-to-face, they can do that. Now, there are some programs where you have to do it face-to-face.
Yeah.
Like automotive technology or nursing. Like,
yeah, there are definitely some hands-on classes.
There's nothing they can do. But our nursing program, we have a phenomenal crew, a phenomenal group of people in our healthcare programs, and particularly in our nursing program, and they've really done a good job. All of our healthcare people have to wear lots of extra PPE, and they have to be, very, very protected because they all are put at risk every day of getting the disease, and so that's been interesting.
Yeah. And I think in general, if everybody were in agreement on a strategy, it would at least behave themselves in public, and we could actually open a bit more if everybody agrees to be responsible.
It's one of the most beautiful and most awful things about America, right? Mm-hmm. We have plurality in our beliefs, right? And that's so cool, right? It's so cool that we live in a place where there's democracy and a variety of different ideas and beliefs. And yet, strategy is hard in America because there is plurality. In Idaho, there's a very strong individualistic impulse, I lean a little bit more liberal, and so for me, sometimes that's frustrating because I believe in the common good. But rugged individualism has its history and place in America and in the American identity. And so I empathize with those who are feeling that because I get it. I get why, they like that's why a lot of people live out west. They like to not be bothered by their big government overlord.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of doomsday preppers and
right.
people, what do you call, off the grid.
Yeah, there are a lot of those.
I like to watch those on YouTube
I
sometimes.
think they're interesting. Yeah. But it just speaks to the character of America because we are all so different, and that's actually a beautiful thing in some ways. It's hard when you really have a public health mandate.
I think in particular what's hard, the individualism is one thing. If you believe in these weird conspiracies and that you have the right to gather when everybody else doesn't, but somehow you deserve this special right.
Yeah, it's
because you're religious. Your religious right is stronger than my right to be a human. I don't think so.
Yeah.
And this is where the irrationality is what I see is the biggest problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I would be in agreement with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So on to a different subject, Mike.
Cool.
How's your favorite way to waste time?
In the pandemic, or just in general?
Right now or in general?
Okay. So, well, since I'm so recently recovered from COVID, I think, excuse me, I did a lot of really awful TV binge watching. It was the worst. But I used to, a couple months ago, I spend a lot of time outdoors. So I'm really into hiking and mountain biking, and I'm really into running, trail running, and I actually like road running as well. And I live right by the Snake River, so there's a river trail right by my house, and so I run there almost daily. This winter, I'm going to be doing a lot of snowshoeing, maybe some cross-country skiing, and a lot of snowboarding. And then probably a couple trips to Utah, to be perfectly honest.
So you're wasting a lot of time skiing? I don't think that's a waste of time.
No, it's not. And then, but really right now I'm in the throes of my dissertation, and I have been for a couple years. And it's taken me way too long, but I'm going to graduate this next year, so finally it's been brutal. But I have a really great advisor, and she's been really patient with me, and it's really great, and that's with Utah State University. Mm-hmm. So that's where I spend a lot of my time as well. And then, of course, on the weekends that I have my kids, we do either outdoor adventures, or I do whatever they want, really. Like, we play a lot of video games because that's what they like. I don't love video games like they do. They love them. But I want to be a fun dad. I want to be a good dad too. But and so that's one part. That's one element.
What's the best thing about being Mike Walker?
Oh wow. What's the best thing about being Mike Walker? Whew, that is a tough question. Well, I really like myself. I think I'm funny. I think I'm interesting. I think I have a lot to say. One of my talents is I can talk. I can talk forever. You know this about me. You've known this about me since I was a small child.
Yeah, you've seen our first interview together.
It was mostly me talking, actually. I didn't let Debbie get a word in.
That was really difficult to edit. I just put the whole thing out there.
Oh, that's funny. 2020 was a really hard year for me for a lot of reasons. It's been a hard year for everyone. But I've come out of it thinking, I really like myself. I like who I am. I like how I was raised. I like what I bring to the table. I like to have fun. I can't wait to start doing the normal activities again. I'll be honest. It's really, that's been rough. But I've gotten to know myself better too. So even though I'm what would be known as an extreme extrovert, like extremely extroverted, in 2020, I've gotten to know myself a lot better at 40, right? And
I think that's about when we all start to evolve. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know. Well, some people, whatever. But I've spent a lot of time by myself this year, both from quarantine restrictions and just doing that. And I like me. I like my me time now, for the first time in my life, and that's been a real positive. And then this year, I did have some good news. I don't know if you heard. I got a Distinguished Under 40 award. I am now 40, but I guess it was for the time frame that I was actually under 40. And so good things have happened.
Congratulations.
I've achieved a lot of cool things this year. So we got a grant. I co-authored a grant, the C Campus grant, which stands for Child Care Access Means Parents in Schools. And it's a Department of Education federal grant. It's a program that's been around for several years. And we applied and we got it. And so it was $120,000 over the course of 4 years to give directly to low-income student parents who couldn't otherwise go back to school without childcare funds. And so they're vouchers that go directly to licensed childcare providers for students who have kids. And it's something that I'm so proud of, and I'm going to put on my resume for the rest of my career. Like, I'm really excited about that. So even though 2020 was like a terrible, terrible year, there are some things good that have come out of it. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about myself, which has been really good too. Forcing myself to really get to know me has been a positive thing.
Good. That's great. I've enjoyed it too.
Oh, really?
I always feel like I'm not doing enough. There's a ton more things I should do, and I want to do so many things. It's hard to focus. I feel like because I had this time, maybe just focusing on mostly Toastmasters and my YouTube channel, even though it's not a huge number. Yeah, it's allowed me to focus on that. Even though I don't do it enough hours in a day, I'm actually able to focus on it. I'm not worrying about, other things like I should be out there making money. I don't have to think about that right now.
No, so that's a really good point. The 2020 has lowered our expectations of ourselves and of others. I do hope that continues. I worry that it's going to be more intense after this is all gone. People are like, now I can do everything. I have to do everything. But for me personally, it's not going to be that way. I've learned to lower my expectations of myself and not put so much perfectionistic pressure on myself. And I've liked that. Mm-hmm. I've liked that I've been able to sort through and pick through and do different things. And I'm kind of an intense person. Like, I have 2 master's degrees. I'm almost done with my PhD. I'm always working on some side project. And I'm kind of an intense person that way. And I've liked the step back and smell the roses that I've done. I've done a lot of outdoor stuff this year. Made some really good friendships this year. I've done some really responsible things and distanced, right? But it's been a good time for me to spend some time by myself, learn some things by myself, and really not put too much pressure on myself or anyone else. Mm-hmm. So that's been good.
Yeah, I think maybe a lot of people have had the same benefits, and I really hope when this is all over, in general, we see capacity of restaurants, sports stadiums go down, and in general, people live a simpler life without all of the chaos and extravagance. That's too much for me.
I agree that there should be more simplicity, but I think we're going to see the opposite. I think we're going to see, just once everyone's free of restrictions.
Yeah, I'm really
we're going to see an explosion.
That.
Well, and part of that makes sense. Like, I've made the determination I'm going to the first U2 concert anywhere in the world. I don't care if it's in Bangkok or Dublin or New York or LA, wherever, Vegas, Paris, London. I don't care. Wherever the first U2 concert is, I'm going to be there, and I'm going to fly there, even if I go into debt for doing so. Although I'm setting money aside.
Oh, I was going to say, you got lots of time to plan.
Plenty of time to plan. But
there's a lot of cool creatures, and I often thought it would be fun to become an eagle or some sort of bird and and fly around and then come home, turn back into a human.
For sure.
What kind of creature is going to satisfy you?
Okay, so if I could be any kind of creature, let me think for a minute. You may have to edit this one down. So you took one of the good ones, because I'll start by saying what my favorite animals are, because that helps with that sort of exploration. So my favorite animals are falcons, because that's the mascot of where I work. Eagles, because they're just so majestic and they're fun to watch. I love watching moose. I love watching bears at a very far away distance.
What is it about moose?
They're crazy huge. They're just enormous.
They're
and
big.
they're powerful creatures, and they're scary and intimidating. And you can sometimes see them in my area, so it's kind of fun.
I don't know that I've seen too many.
And then I'm really fascinated by porpoises and whales. So orcas are fun to watch if you can go on a whale watching tour. They are fun to watch in captivity, although, there's some complications with that as well, because it's like,
Captivity doesn't make a whole lot of sense for an animal the size of a whale.
No. Dolphins, I'm really fascinated by dolphins and manatees and other porpoises. And I think that their ability to be free when they are free is really interesting, and they're intelligent creatures, and they have echolocation, which I think is fascinating. I think imagine a human superhero with echolocation. Can you imagine what a cool power that is? And I'm fascinated by dolphins because they use echolocation all the time, and that's really interesting to me. It's always been kind of a fascinating thing. There was this video game on Sega when I was a kid that had a dolphin with echolocation. It was kind of a funny video game. But anyway, always kind of been fascinated by dolphins. And so I think if I had to pick one creature that existed currently, it's kind of like that question, what superpower would you have? I think it would be a dolphin. Except for the non-flying, a flying dolphin. That doesn't exist.
Okay, a flying dolphin. What item do you own that you really need to get rid of?
Oh my gosh. So this brings on a whole discussion. This is a great question. So this year, for a variety of reasons, I've downsized quite a bit. And it's gotten me thinking about being more of a minimalist, because we as Americans especially, but as worldwide, this is a worldwide problem. Consumerism is rampant. Now, there's some good things for the economy for consumerism, right? But sometimes we buy a lot of things that we don't need, and things that we don't, like there are some things that are creature comforts that we like to have. Mm-hmm. And there are some things that are just like, we don't need this. This isn't, I can downsize. I can really get more minimal. And what I've come to learn is I need things to keep my kids entertained. And then I need very minimal things for myself. Like I need a good book. I need, I do need my television. And I need my camping gear and my outdoor gear. And that's really all I need. So there's a lot of stuff, just things that I don't need. I bought a kayak recently, like a couple months ago. I haven't used it because I bought it at the end of the season. And that was kind of a silly thing, but I'm excited for the spring to actually go out there and use it. So for me, a materialistic purchase, if there is an active use for it, then I want and need it. If I'm going to actively use it. If I'm not going to actively use it, I shouldn't be buying it.
So the giant Buddha statue?
Well, I guess it depends. Like for me, no, because I don't care about that. But like for some people, if that helps them become more centered, or helps them become more, focused, then sure.
Or it's a nice piece of decor.
Or if they love, if it brings them, well, as Marie Kondo says, if it sparks joy for them. For me, it would just be a waste of space. I would be like, So, as far as what can I do without, golly. Well, I now accidentally own 3 televisions, and that's ridiculous. I live by myself. I need one. But what happened is I had one that was really cheap that was used. I bought another one, and it broke, and the company wouldn't repair it, and it didn't really work, and I wasn't going to give it away because it's broken, so it's just sitting there. And then I bought another one that was really nice, because I wanted one nice one. So I'll probably get rid of the other 2 at some point.
At least get rid of the broken one. We'll get
The broken one, it's like what? I feel guilty though, because it's like, oh, that's so wasteful. But I didn't spend that much money on it.
It really is wasteful. I agree with that. I have a hard time throwing things away. I'm like, it can totally be repaired, but what, you're gonna force me to buy a new washing machine that's gonna break in 5 years, and I have one that's worked for 60 years, and no one can repair it anymore.
I know, and I hate that because what it's doing is it's just going to landfills.
Yeah.
It's like I have this weird thing about food. So I generally will not take proportions that I can't completely finish.
You can't have a choice when you go to a restaurant.
So with a restaurant, I'll ask about the proportions, and I'll make sure that I'm full. And then if I can't, I'll take it home and eat it for a later meal. I hate wasting food, and I really hate wasting meat. Because, okay, so I used to be, a long time ago, I was a vegetarian, and I was briefly a vegan this year for 4 months. And ultimately, that didn't last. I love meat, so I still eat it. And it's also really good for you if you choose a low-carb diet.
And if you cook it the right way.
Yeah, and if you do it the right way, absolutely. And you focus on lean meats most of the time, like poultry or not excessive red meat. So, although I do still eat red meat, but I take small portions. I only take the amount that I'm gonna completely eat and finish, because an animal died for this. Think about what that means. So, make sure that it's going to nutritional value. And so my kids I will not let them throw meat away. Like, I will eat it if they're gonna throw it away, or I'll put it in the fridge and.
You try to teach them to only eat what
take what
they can
you
eat.
can eat. But I set that as an example for myself, because I don't want food. There's no reason to be wasteful.
Yeah, I have a serious problem with that, because all the portions at the grocery store, at the restaurant, are all too big for me.
Yeah, that's
all
kind
of
of frustrating.
And when I go to a restaurant, I am limited to maybe 3 choices, because they're the only 3 things that I can reheat later.
Yeah.
I get really extremely annoyed at this.
Yeah.
I can't believe that any other person that's not 300 pounds is going to eat this whole meal.
Well, and
that's really
to
disgusting.
The American diet too.
Yeah.
I've gotten to do a lot more complete meal preparation. Very little bit, very few foods do I even eat microwave, because I like to be able to control the portions that I'm cooking and preparing. But normally I won't cook so that I have tons of leftovers. Now, when I have my kids, that changes the dynamic, because you have to prepare more food, and so there's more leftovers. But it's also really hard to cook for one person. It
is.
Like, there's no recipe that's like for one person. For a while I was doing those like HelloFresh meals. So now I don't do those meal kits so much anymore, because I've taught myself how to be a pretty good cook. I love chicken. I probably eat too much chicken, but I don't add a lot of like stuff to make it fattening or unhealthy. I keep it pretty simple, and I really like it. It's been fun. I love to cook. That's something I did in 2020 that I didn't know I liked before. I mean, I kind of always knew that I liked to cook, but I didn't really do a lot of it. Now, I do a lot of cooking, and I love it. I think it's fun. So.
Well, you know what else is fun?
What's that?
Deb doing that with Mike Walker.
Deb
did that.
Deb did this. So we just did this great conversation. So thank you for inviting me onto your show, and it's cool to do the second time. So fun in person. Actually in person. So well, thank you, Deb, for the interview.
Thanks for coming over, Mike. I had a lot of fun.
Yep, definitely.
Thanks.